everyone. Welcome to the Steve Maxwell Drums Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on our website at www.maxwelldrums.com and then our reverb stores at Steve Maxwell Drums-Chicago and Steve Maxwell Drums-New York. We also have social media, 2 Instagram accounts, at Maxwell Drum Shop Chicagoland and then at Maxwell Drum Shop. And then also on Facebook, Steve Maxwell and Steve Maxwell Drum Shop. And then, of course, check us out on Twitter at Maxwell Drum Shop. We will interview players, collectors, drum and cymbal builders, and also teachers about all things percussion. And you can go to YouTube if you want to see the video. We'll have pictures of drum shops, of drum sets, badges, cymbals, all kinds of fun stuff. So let's get started. We hope you enjoy it. 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
So, yeah, Chris Wilson, good to have you here, man.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so we know each other from a little while back. We were introduced by Dave, the cellist Dave, and
Dave Keller,
Dave
of course,
Keller, yeah.
a great musician.
And I'll do a shout out to Origin of Animal, one of his bands,
a great band,
yeah,
fronted
totally.
by a cellist,
which is kind of rare. They do really eclectic music. If anyone's listening, they should definitely check out Origin of Animal. I played with them for a short time, and just had a ball. But Chris, So you run a music school. What city is it in?
So it's Academy of Music and Art. It's in Westmont, Illinois.
And it's music, art. It's many different
music,
things.
art, dance, theater. It started as a guitar school in my apartment 30 years ago. Just a couple weeks. July 5th was my 30th anniversary.
Very cool.
Started as a guitar school in my apartment.
And I taught there for a while on drums.
Yeah.
Really cool place. Just really like friendly, welcoming environment. And yeah, that's fantastic. Usually, what I start with is just going to the kind of your history, how you got involved in music. So let's talk about you. So, what was just some of your earliest like musical memories?
Yeah,
tell me a little about yourself.
You know, it was one of those things like we were always super into music, even as children. You know, like...
And which city did you grow up in?
I'm from Chicago, and I grew up in, like, suburbs around Chicago, Westchester, we kind of moved around, but, just western suburbs of Chicago. But I remember just, like, watching stuff on TV like the Monkees. And this would have been the early 70s, so the Monkees had just broken up, and it was like... It was like amazing. It was like, wow, they play in a band, and even though they weren't really playing their instruments, it was the coolest thing.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Yeah, and wanting to be able to play the guitar.
One of my friend's moms was like a huge Monkees fan when I was growing up. Yeah,
yeah, and I still love their music. But I remember, it was actually. And I figured out what the date was at a later date. But I remember seeing a commercial for the Rolling Stones were coming to Chicago. And so it was 1975 because it was either 72 or 75, but I think it wouldn't have been like 5, So it must have been 1975. Saw the Stones on TV, and it was like a regular TV commercial. Oh, the Rolling Stones are coming to Chicago at Chicago Stadium, and they showed a clip of them playing "Get Off My Cloud," like a black and white clip from the '60s, and they're playing, hey, you, and the girls are screaming, and I'm looking at Keith Richards. I was like, damn, that's the coolest guy I've ever seen. I want to do that. I want to be like, And then after that, music just was something we were into.
So was guitar your first instrument?
Guitar is my only instrument. I mean, I can play some piano, but guitar.
Sure.
And didn't get a guitar right away. I think we borrowed a guitar from somebody, like a relative, and my brother Rob took some lessons, couldn't figure it out. And then just were always into music. And then I bought a book on like a chord book in like 1978. And just started trying to figure out like how to play a G chord and how to figure stuff out. And I've been playing ever since, And so it was just one of those things I always stuck with it. Didn't start taking lessons till I realized you could go to college for music. I was like, you can go to college for music? Because I went to Catholic schools, man. I didn't like school. School was a drag. So the idea was like, I can go. So I read like the entrance requirements. I was like, oh crap, I got to learn how to read music. I got to learn how to play, some stuff. And so started taking lessons. And
who was a teacher? I mean, you could say your first teacher or a memorable one.
I studied with this guy, and he was kind of the local jazz guy. And Pro-Am Music in Westmont. It was a little music shop, and the guy's name was Craig something, but he was like a serious jazz guy. And so like I could ask him, I was like, I was reading Guitar Player magazine back then, Guitar Player magazine. about Joe Pass. What do you know about Joe Pass? And he'd like rattle off everything about Joe Pass, and he'd write down what record to get, and I would go to Rose Records and get the record and go home and listen to it, and it would sail completely over my head. But I was like, okay. And he bought he said, here's a real book, learn how to play all the things you are and everything. And I was like, wow, all these chords are seventh chords, and it was just, and I just kind of stuck with it. And at this point, I'm like a senior in high school and looking at colleges, and I went into the guidance counselor office with Mr. Melnick, and he said, Chris, what are you going to study? I said, well, I'm really into music. And he's like, oh no, music's, you'll never make a living at music. Now, this is a Catholic school, high school guidance counselor. The guy's making 17.
Which high school did you go to?
It's called St. Joe's in Westchester. But what's a teacher make? $17,000 a year? You know what I mean? It's not a high paying job. One of the teachers who I knew there complained that, it was like, you could barely make $20,000 a year, right?
And this is in the 80s.
This is 1984. So I don't know what they're making now, but I was thinking.
Still, they're not millionaires.
Yeah. At the time,
they should be paid more, man.
At the time, really should. But at the time, I didn't know this. This guy's giving me career advice, and so I don't know what he was making, but he didn't have this lucrative job, right? Yeah, Catholic school guidance counselor. So he goes, oh, you should really study business and maybe do music on the side. And at this point, I had this idea that I wanted to go to Berklee College of Music. I'd never been to Boston. I didn't know anyone who went to Berklee, but I had ordered their catalog, and it was like Al Di Meola, all these famous guitarists that went there. So instead, I go to NIU, Northern Illinois University.
That's a great school. I auditioned there, and I didn't get in, man.
Oh, but I went for business.
Okay. So
Mr.
Melnick was actually a smart move, probably. But,
so
I mean, it's a give and take. I always say, like, if you have a really specific plan.
Yeah.
And then, you can also kind of live the bohemian lifestyle. If you want to be a musician in New York City and live in like a really tiny place, you can do that. But it's very, if you are going to go to school for music, you have to have a very specific plan.
Yeah.
So that when you get out, you know what you're going to do.
Totally.
But yeah, NIU, I auditioned there, and I was great at drum set, but my mallet chops, I'm pretty good at mallets, but I just wasn't quite up to snuff.
Yeah.
That was one of the schools I didn't make it into. I made it into the new school in New York.
Wow.
But I didn't make it into NIU.
Yeah. It was, because NIU NIU was one of those, like, the moment that changed my life. Like, my life pivoted like Labor Day weekend in 1985.
It's such a beautiful campus.
Yeah.
And I mean, just practicing wise, just like little distractions.
Well, it was weird.
Less distractions.
Yeah. But I literally lasted one day.
Oh.
I didn't even really get to I actually did a semester there.
The story.
But first day there, right? We're in the Grant North Towers.
Sure.
Like the dorms.
I think I know where another side note. Me and my friends, we're from Wheaton, right?
Yeah.
We used to go to NIU to like party.
Yeah.
Because like we know people who were going to college there. So I've had many good times on the it was like the apartment area.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a lot of good times there.
Nice, man.
We drive all the way. It's only like hour and a half, 2 hours.
It was an hour and a half, yeah.
From here, I'm in Naperville now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what happened? What happened after you left NIU?
Well, it was strange. It actually happened like at NIU. The first day you move into the dorms, and you're meeting all the guys. I had a really cool roommate and everything. I had the first time living away from home. Totally dug it. I thought, this is great. I'm going to study business. And I had an art history class that was interesting to me. And I hadn't taken any classes yet. But I was going to take art history, a music theory class, but business classes, calculus, all this stuff.
Sure.
So we go to the lounge at the end of the hallway, and it's the RA, Ed from Bridgeport. Hey, yous guys. So, right? And he said,
old school Chicago accent.
Freshmen and sophomores, and he says, okay, we're going to go around the room, and we're going to introduce ourselves, and we're going to say where we're from and what we're studying, and then tell us something that you're into. Now, it was interesting. I had always went to Catholic schools, and we had sat in alphabetical order. My last name's Wilson, so I was always in the far back right-hand corner. So I inherently went to the far back right-hand corner. And I'm a first row kind of guy now. So I go to the back, so I'm going to be one of the last ones to speak. And the first guy goes, and he says, Ed goes first. He says, my name's Ed. I'm from Chicago. I'm from Bridgeport, and I'm really into, I forget what he was into, but I'm studying business, but I'd like to do this. And he says something else. And next up was Mike, my buddy Mike. We became friends. He's from Morton Grove. He's really into bodybuilding. This guy's jacked like Arnold. He wants to do something with health and fitness, but he's studying accounting so that he can go do something with accounting. And as we went around the room, every single person was, I'm 19 years old, I'm 18 years old, I'm really into this, but I'm not doing it, I'm studying business instead. And as I was sitting there, I was like, holy shit, like, we're not even trying. We're like not even trying to like break out and do something. Sure. So by the time it got to me, I said, my name's Chris. I'm from Clarendon Hills, Illinois. I'm not going to be here very long because I'm transferring to Berklee College of Music at the end of the semester because I'm going to be a guitarist. And it looked like, no way. So in that moment, I decided I was going. So then I'm like, okay, so now I'm going to Berklee. I went home that weekend from Labor Day, and I'd filled out the application that had been sitting on my desk. I just like mailed it in. Went over to my high school, saw Mr. Melnick. I said, hey, the NIU thing, I'm going to do the semester, but I need you to mail my transcripts to like Berklee College of Music. I'm going to Berklee. And he's like, oh, I don't know. Never went back to St. Joseph's High School after that. But while I was at Berklee, it just so happened, because I was a music minor, I studied with the graduate assistant named Frank Vodo. And Frank graduated from Berklee. And he studied with the chairman of the department. And I said, hey, I'm going to Berklee. And he said, you're a crazy fuck. You're going to starve.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't know if I could swear on this. But that's a quote from Frank.
Yeah, you can. It's fine.
Yeah. So he got me ready for Berklee. And so when I went to Berklee in January then. This is
interesting because we've actually never really talked about your school before. That's why we're here.
So I went to Berklee College of Music then in that January. So I bailed on NIU.
You might have gone there at a similar time to my You may be just a little bit older than him. Did you run into a guy, Jason Patera, ever?
So I'm 53. So I know Jason because I taught at the Chicago Academy for the Performing Arts.
Oh, you taught there?
I taught there.
I went to high school there.
So I taught there. There's a funny reason how I got that gig, because my life is a series of weird events like this.
Sure.
So I end up going to Berklee. I studied with the chairman of the guitar department because I knew Frank from NIU.
Yeah. Let's stick to chronological.
Yeah. So I end up studying. Yeah. I go see the chairman, William Levitt. He's written all the books. He has 5 students. I go up to him.
What was his main instrument?
He was a guitarist. So he was chairman of the guitar department. So Berklee had all these departments. So I walked up to him. I said, hey, I'd like to study with you. And he's like, I don't take any students. I said, I was a student of Frank Vodo. Oh, Frank, Chicago. I can't take you this semester, but come see me in September. So I was studying with the best teacher in the world.
Throwing some names out.
Yeah, I had a connection. I had this connection, and I went in. I was very polite, and so I ended up at Berklee, and it was wonderful. Graduated in 1990. Had a degree in what they called arranging back then, so a writing degree and a performance degree. So I did 2 majors, which I don't know what I was thinking. It was so much work. I just worked all the time.
Were you and Jason going to the school at the same time, or?
I'm probably 20 years older than Jason. I'm 53.
Not 20 years older.
10 years older, anyway.
You look way younger, by the way. Yeah. I wouldn't even guess that. But yeah, because Jason's really young.
I met Jason when he was out of high school.
No, and he was. I'm 35.
Yeah.
I think Jason's about 10 years
45.
old.
Okay. So when I was.
You guys were almost in the same. Only a couple years apart.
Because when I was teaching. I get out of Berklee, and I start teaching guitar. I hang up green flyers, and I start marketing this guitar school.
Sure.
And I'm teaching. I'm the only teacher. So we're a business with 1 employee, which is, Chris Wilson, founder and president. Hi. How many employees are you? But it was great. Like, I connected with rock bands because grunge music was really big. I had people in bands, and I opened up an office then in the suburbs.
So you're talking about after you graduated.
After Berklee. So I've graduated from Berklee.
And you got a 4-year degree?
Yeah, 4-degree Bachelor's of Music in performance and in composition, or they call it contemporary writing now. So I had 2 degrees from Berklee. And Berklee was awesome.
I've heard many things about Berklee. Good. I mean,
it's
good
super
and bad.
It's super competitive.
Every school's like
People
that.
became rock stars. The drummer from the Spin Doctors, Paula Cole was there, Layla Hathaway, Roy Hargrove.
Did you find
Jeff Parker?
Was there ever an issue with kind of the variety of instruments? Did you ever find it difficult? When I went to college, there were no bass players, which is actually like the real life too.
Yeah.
Berkeley,
I mean, there were 5,000 musicians there. There were 900. There were 1,000 guitar players.
That's so big.
There were 400 bass players.
I think there was probably, like 300 people in my whole school, maybe 400 or 500 at the most.
Hundreds of drummers.
That,
Really, that's
crazy. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. It dropped off for you started seeing, and this drove the older guys crazy, less saxophones, less, the big bands. There weren't large ensembles. So there were still,
too many drummers and guitar players.
A lot of guitar players.
Drummer, guitar.
Yeah. And engineers. People wanted to learn how to work through. That back then was the only school you could go to study engineering, to learn how to run a mixing board, tape machines. Berkeley actually had recording studios. And so they had this thing.
I love tape machines. Don't even get me started on that.
But they would have, and they had this cool thing. You're a songwriter. You would bring your songwriter to the recording studio, and there would be a student band like me. They would hand you a chart, and then they would make a 24-track recording of your song in an hour.
Oh, that's
and then the tape would then go to the next class, and that would be the mix down class. We're going to mix down this class. And then at the end, you would have a demo. And so
we
I was
did
in the studio all
some
day.
Stuff at Roosevelt where we went to studios, but it wasn't all in-house. That's so cool because everything's in-house.
5 or 7 studios.
Right, state of the art.
24 state of the art, 1985 or 86. Anything you needed. There was no excuse for And
you could argue that there's the stuff for recording was better back then than it is now.
Yeah, it was great.
Being a tape enthusiast, I would argue that they were probably making better recordings back then than. Digital stuff's awesome, but tape, I mean.
Well, and weird things happen. Like I had a writing teacher named Richard Evans who was from Chicago. So one day I'm walking down the hallway at Berkeley, and there's Richard. He said, "Chris, how's it going?" He said, "I need a guitar player right now." I said, "Oh, Richard, I'm your man." Sure. He's like, "I'll drop." I said, "I'll drop everything. I'll come play for you." So I played in his band, and he's like, because it was some project. I don't know. He needed a guitar player. I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. I was going to go home and eat pizza or whatever. So I become Richard's, he uses me for all his guitar stuff. Anything he needs a guitar player for, he hires me, at Berkeley and in Boston. So I'm moving to Chicago. He writes me a letter of recommendation, calls people for me, gives people a list, says, go talk to these people, drop my name. So Richard sent me. And so, I started working in live bands.
Do you miss living in Boston?
No. I wasn't from there.
It's expensive, right?
Yeah, I've never been back. I mean, I've been many other places. I had never been anywhere either.
I've never lived anywhere except Chicago. I've lived in the city and I've lived in the suburbs, and that's it.
I never. My family grew up in Chicago, and we would drive to Florida for a vacation, and that was it. I mean, later on, I started going to Europe and traveling, and
Chicago is a very practical place to live. It's expensive, but it's not that expensive.
It's all I know.
There are opportunities,
Yeah.
But anyway, so you.
Oh, so weird. How I met Jason. That's where we're going.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So I start teaching guitar lessons, and I've got this guitar studio in my apartment.
And we've done a podcast with Jason Patera for all those that are listening.
I noticed
that was my third one I think I did.
Yeah.
He was my teacher in high school. But
so I'm giving guitar lessons. I have a studio in the suburbs in Hinsdale, which is really what grew into my current business. I rented an office space from a business.
Oh, okay. So at this point This
is 1991, January of 91.
It's not in the same space. I think your dad had an office there at one point,
Well,
right?
this was I had students driving from the suburbs to the city to take lessons, and they couldn't park and everything. So I thought, well, I'll keep my apartment job going. And the apartment.
So you were living in
I'm living in the city in a high-rise.
Which neighborhood?
Gold Coast. This was when they built all these buildings, and they let you live for free for 3 months.
Oh.
Because they needed tenants.
When was that a thing?
1990.
I wish that was a thing now.
Well, you sign an 18-month lease and you get 3 months free.
Oh, okay.
To get you in, and then the building would be full.
Geez, with our economy now where it's heading, maybe that'll happen again.
Oh yeah, that was a great time to be in Chicago. Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm giving lessons though in this. I rented the space from an office from a record store just to teach in the suburbs. And this kid, I'm giving lessons to this kid, and he's studying at Columbia College with a classical guitar teacher. And so this kid is serious. So I'm I'm nice, but I'm kicking his ass every week. I'm like, here, if you're going to play, this is what you have to do, And his guitar teacher saw what I was teaching him and goes, oh, this guy's great. So my phone rings, and he says, hey, Chris, my name's Norman Ruiz. I teach guitar at Columbia College, and I also teach at a performing arts high school. We need a jazz guitarist. Would you like a job? And I said, sure.
Nice.
So the job was Chicago Academy of Performing Arts. So I went there and started teaching guitar.
So when you were in the city, were you playing with any bands?
Yeah, I worked. I mean, tons of bands. Like
any names that?
Nobody famous. I did them. This was in. So I had
anything that's been recorded, people could check out.
Tons of stuff. I don't know that because back
then. Did it make it onto YouTube?
Well, because this is 1990, right? There is there is no internet. No, and this is the 90s. There's no computers for recording. Like you can do MIDI recording. So everybody, especially because the Smashing Pumpkins had come out, and Veruca Salt, there were all these bands. People were like making demos and trying to get signed, and there was interest. Like you could make a demo and you could at least get listened to. So yeah, I mean, I was at CRC, Chicago Recording Company, all the time, recording all these demo studios, doing stuff all the time. But nothing ever went anywhere. Like you made a record and then you printed 500 copies, thinking you could sell it, but people didn't know how to market it. And so, which was funny because I was at that point I was really growing my guitar school, and so I was marketing like all day. And then I was moonlighting through the guy who got me the Chicago Academy job. He got me a job at a college, teaching guitar at a college. And
then, so at the Academy, I'm curious, what years were you there? Ballpark.
90, say 92 to 2000, 99. Once my daughter was born and the school grew, like I really couldn't be there all the time. But Jason was there like hanging out.
Were you? When was I there?
I don't know.
So I was there.
What year did you graduate from high school?
Yeah, you had left like right when a couple years before I started there. Because we were the class of, I think I started at 2000.
Yeah, so I was long gone by that.
Yeah, and then 2004.
Yeah.
Or wait, no. Yeah,
if you were 2004, then definitely I was gone.
No, actually, I think it was 90, because I was born in 85, right? So
yeah.
That would mean in 95 I was 10, and then in 2005 I was 20. So actually, yeah, I probably started high school. Right around when you left is probably when I started. Yeah. We might have run into each other.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I did an audition for a movie at my mom was just like, hey, you should do an audition for this movie. I think it was what's the thing where there's alfalfa?
Little Rascals.
The Little Rascals.
Yeah.
They had like a movie audition.
Wow.
And like my mom was just like, hey, why don't you try out? And I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah,
and I think that was my first time in the building. And I was super young then. I was like probably, So we definitely,
That's funny.
So many crossroads of my life have gone into that building on Ogden and Chicago Avenue.
Yeah.
So yeah, when
Jason was not at Berkeley yet though. When I met Jason, he was just there hanging out. Like he
talked
was
about
like
that. Right.
He was like helping out somehow, but he was like, I'm going to Berkeley, and I was like, that was cool. But he was like,
so you went to Berkeley before him?
Yeah, I had graduated in 1990, so 10 years.
It's such a small. Are you in contact with him?
No,
it's just a small world, man.
Yeah,
I should have
But I'm terrible at that. I don't keep in contact with anybody.
I try to,
but
it's impossible because I like to do it by phone.
Yeah.
I don't like Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't like Twitter. I like to actually talk to people.
Yeah.
In person is the best.
What
I should do, I should have once this whole like COVID thing is over with, if it ever is.
Yeah.
I should have a barbecue. I'll invite all you guys.
Oh yeah.
And no one will come.
No, we'll all come, man. But Jason was like a heavy metal drummer then. Like he had like the double bass drum, and he was talking about jazz. I was like,
I put a picture up with him. He had long hair, just like believe it or not, I had dreadlocks at one point.
Nice. Yeah,
I used to be.
I had very long hair and then cut off. In '93, I cut it all.
Yeah.
There was a point where everybody, like Billy Corgan shaved his head, Eddie Vedder, everyone cut their hair at some point. And I think it was 1993, 94. Like you'll see it with grunge bands. Like all of a sudden the hair was gone. People were long hair.
Billy Corgan did it because he was starting to lose his hair. I'm starting to lose my hair now.
Yeah.
Maybe I should.
Bullet with butterfly wings. That was great.
You still got good hair.
I have good. I know it's just somehow.
Genetics, yeah, and then diet.
Yeah.
Lack of. If you drink too much, I think you lose your hair too.
Yeah, don't do it. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
I'm guilty of all of them.
Oh, yeah.
But hey, I enjoy life.
So it was weird though. It kept going though. All of a sudden, I had people working for me, and then it was like a music school, and I was surprised that people wanted voice lessons. So I had voice teachers, and I had this.
So you kind of started building up.
The school kept growing. Like that was. Right. It wasn't supposed to be my job. I was going like, oh, I got a job at a college because I was talking to this guy.
Where was the first like location?
So my first location was in my apartment at 1133 North Dearborn, out of my apartment. And then I rented a little record store in Hinsdale, and I don't know what's there now, but that would have been January of 91. And so I did that, and then by 93, I had like, I don't know, 60 students. I was teaching at college. I was teaching in bands. I was working like crazy. But I was like, it was great. You know, you're 25 years old. You're working.
Living the dream.
Well, and I remember like, this is funny, getting back to the high school guidance counselor. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm taking advice from this guy who makes 17 grand a year. I don't know that he made 17,000 a year, but that was the number in my head. So I remember thinking when I had made $17,000, when I made 17,001, I was ahead of him. Sure. So, and I remember keeping track of him going, oh, today was the day. And everyone's like, why are you celebrating like you made $17,000? I was like, let me tell you why.
It's a thing for me. Yeah,
it was, I was like, there was a competitive nature why I had to prove the person wrong. But yeah, I just kept going. You know, at some point it became an incorporated business. And I realized that getting hired as a college was impossible. Mm-hmm. You know, like you couldn't get a full-time job. There were no, and then, you know, like the school jobs were tough because I wasn't certified, so I wasn't going to get like a public school job.
You would need like an actual teaching degree for that.
For that be licensed. And at the Chicago Academy, like the teachers turned over quickly. Like you'd work there a couple of years, but there just wasn't full-time work.
Yeah, I remember, man, when I was there were some really interesting cats. Don Skoog.
Yeah, no, so I played in the band with Don.
No way.
We were in the band called Cruel Jazz.
Such a small world.
Well, and I remember hanging out with Don, and Don's a great guy, man. And, you know, his thing was like, and I took this from Don, and if you're listening, Don, thank you. He basically, you know, had a studio in his house.
Brad doesn't even remember me.
Yeah, had a studio in his house, right? And he was self-contained, and he didn't need anybody else. Like, he had a self-contained unit, and I thought, you know, like I'm relying, because like sometimes like at Morton College where I taught, you'd have 20 students, sometimes you have 3, and it was like this weird thing that I had no control over how many people were there, or no marketing. With my business, I had it full. I had learned digital marketing in 1994. Yeah, I had websites and homepages and all this stuff selling my business. And I realized, you know, I really need to like leave all these jobs and just focus on the Academy of Music and Art. And it was called Chris Wilson School of Music at that point. Hire people, grow the business, learn how to run a business, and keep things going. And so that became sort of my single point of focus was, okay, I'll play in bands and write music and do records sort of as a side thing, but I can blow the school up into something really big. And so I started learning everything I learned how to do direct mail. I learned how to do, everything with marketing to sell a local business, like I can do. That became my thing. And so then it was like I had 2 rooms and then 4 rooms, you know, and I kept building rooms and, you know, there was
the marketing aspect, even if you're just a musician, you need to learn how to market yourself.
Totally. Yeah.
My first experience with marketing was actually in food service.
Yeah.
I used to hand out flyers.
Yeah.
For this restaurant I worked for in downtown Chicago on the bridges for like the day-to-day migration of everybody into the office and back. And I was the only one there who actually like did it. I saw myself as like kind of an old-fashioned like paper boy.
Yeah.
So I would like this you know, like free food right here. Come and get it, you know.
Well, you know,
first edition, new news. I increased our business.
Yeah.
I think I managed to increase our business by like 30%.
Oh yeah,
is like huge.
Well, that's that old school hustle. Like when I built the school, it was like flyers.
Put some effort into it.
Yeah, flyers and you're going around to. You know, it used to be Guitar Center and places like that didn't give lessons. So I'd go in there and have like little displays of rack cards, you know, and business cards and flyers everywhere and talking to people and anything I could. You know, and we used to do door hangers. And so we'd print up 1,000 door hangers Labor Day weekend, everyone else is at a barbecue and we're walking our neighborhood like hanging up door hangers, you know?
Sure. Yeah, you have to be creative. It's a certain kind of, it's like a practical creativity. It's not the kind of creative where like I wrote a beautiful song. It's the kind of creative where it's like I'm adapting to the situation where I need to like you know, figure out a way to fit into the which is a really special kind of creativity that not everybody has.
Well, and it was just doing it, like constantly doing it. And I remember I was writing everything down we were doing. And so at some point, you know, the world became digital marketing, Facebook, Google, websites. And so a lot of that stuff fell by the wayside. You know, just do it less and less. when the COVID-19 thing hit, I basically wrote out, okay, what's everything I did? And so I came up with 56 things I did in my business. And
now we got to get really creative.
Well, I wrote all 56 out, and then I said, how would I do it? And then it became a description. Sure. And then when I was done, it became a book that is being published. It's called Marketing During Tough Times, 56 Ways to Market Your Business.
You wrote a book?
I wrote a book. And
that's awesome, man. Yeah.
And so
do a shout out here.
Yeah. So it's the 56 ways that I use to market the Academy of Music and Art. That's not, because there's nothing wrong with Google, but Google's expensive and it's crowded. Facebook, everybody's on Facebook. There's nothing wrong with Facebook, but it's like, okay, like other than those two outlets, and there's a million people on there.
Where can I get a copy? I will buy a copy.
I'll send you a copy of it. Yeah. But yeah, it became.
Is it available on like Amazon or something?
It's going to be available on Amazon. Yeah.
That's where everyone goes nowadays.
Yeah. But there's a Facebook page. It's called Chris Wilson Coaching. You can find it on Facebook at Chris Wilson Coaching. And there's videos of me on there. There's a lot of YouTube videos and videos of me talking about the different things we do during tough times to sort of turn your business around, the actions that you have to take. And it's like, it's just like when I was at NIU sitting in that, lounge going, okay, like I need to do something, like he can't just be here. It's like, I'm almost back to that. Okay. Like we can't just like rely on Google, hey, we've got a cool website. Cool. Everyone's got a good website, It's like you're trying to get people to completely rethink like taking music lessons or dance classes. Like, you don't want to come in. Okay, well, we have it online. We have it on YouTube.
So when you back to your life chronologically, when you started in Hinsdale, you said?
Yeah, Hinsdale. Well, really my apartment in Chicago, and then
right.
I had Hinsdale was like a satellite location.
And was that what kind of, was it just a little?
Yeah, it was a record store. They sold records and CDs, cool and they went and I rented like their.
Remember those?
Yeah.
Remember record stores, everybody?
And they sold. Yeah, it was called the.
There's like 5 left in the whole country.
Yeah. It was called the Music Room, and it's funny. The guy who owned its name was Richard Nixon, which is kind of funny.
Nice.
But he was a cool guy, and this was sort of, they had day jobs, and this was like their kind of fun project. And so in 1993, they're just like, yeah, we're not going to do it anymore. It's just owning a retail store sucks. It's hard.
Sure.
So I had all these students. So then I started looking. I briefly rented space. Like I had sort of a transition space, but there was an office building that my dad had. 350 East Ogden, where I'm at currently, and I rented just a little office there. And
you remember what was that place where you could go and exchange CDs for other CDs?
Like a
CD warehouse. I think,
oh
right?
yeah, you brought in your old CDs, right. And for every CD they'd give you a store credit, and then you could get some.
And then what was the big? There was also a big retailer that had it was like a chain back in like the 90s and early 2000s that sold CDs. This is after records, so there would be no more records.
This would be not Best Buy, because a lot of people went to Best Buy. Was kind of the.
This was only CD. I can't remember what it was called, but it was only music.
Oh, nice.
Man, I feel sorry for young people sometimes.
Music Land, maybe? There was a Music Land.
Maybe. And then there was the big one in the city, too. I can't even remember what that was called. I was lucky enough.
That was there was the Jazz Record Mart. That was a good one.
They had 2 locations. Gone now?
I don't know. They had 2, though. They had one up in...
It's funny because now record stores are actually coming back a little bit, But I feel bad because, like, the experience of going into one of those stores, like, there's stuff that you can't get, like the smell too. There's the smell of like the cellophane and like these beautiful like untouched. Yeah, and you can't get that from just popping onto YouTube and turning a song on or going to. There's just that experience. I hope the young people can get to. Yeah. And I mean, it's the same with records too. Yeah. There was a really cool place that was at Reggie's. This is a little more recent.
Oh, the music place. Yeah, down on State or what? 22nd?
Yeah, they had a big record store.
That's right. Yeah.
Above.
Sure.
I love that place. I found Jaco Pastorius his own album on vinyl there.
Nice. The first one where he does Donna Lee.
Yeah.
That's a great record.
Which is very
Teen
cool.
Towns on there, or Portrait of Tracy, something like that. He was a monster. Jaco was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Michael Brecker's on that. Yeah. But
my dad's rocking out.
Yeah, that's cool. Playing the drums, that's cool.
It is a drum shop, so you might hear some drums.
Play the drums, man. Yeah.
I might actually grab a little bit more coffee. Do you want some coffee?
I'm okay for now, but
all right.
That's so funny that you know Don Skoog, man, because Don was
It's a small world.
Yeah, because Cruel Jazz was a great band. It was me, Don,
So
Keith Miller.
Cruel, like
Cruel, like like Cruel.
C-R-U-E-L?
Yeah, Cruel, and the record was called Birth of the Cruel.
Man, is there any way people can listen to it?
I don't know.
Find a copy
we cut it back in 1995 or something like that. We cut it a long time ago, but it was a great band. It was like a power trio. Like we would play giant steps, but I play a Strat through like, a loud Fender amp. So it was like loud jazz. And it was because when we first got to know each other, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs.
What did Don play? Did you play kit?
Don was playing kit at that point.
This is me mallets.
So he was a mallet player then as well, but he was a kit player in this band. And this is before he went to Cuba and did the whole Latin music thing. Like he had just his straight ahead time. Don Skoog probably has the best time of any drummer I've ever played. Just
really?
Yeah, he could just lay it down, man.
I've never seen him play kit before.
He is I haven't played him play kit, but he was a badass kit player back in the day. For like jazz stuff, Latin, just any of that stuff, like, mainstream stuff, great player, rock solid, loud, like great, and a lefty. But it was funny, we always joked about how like there was always the people who would insult you. They'd be like, "Hey man, like I love your playing, yeah," and you'd be like, "Oh really? Yeah, it reminds me of what I was doing like 5 years ago." Yeah, you totally remember where I was at in high school. And it was always these like. So then we would jokingly insult each other. We were a Cruel band. I was like, "Oh, we play Cruel Jazz," and then we became Cruel Jazz, and we worked all the time. But we never played like the Green Mill. We played like Sheffield. We played like the Map Room. We played like rock band gigs. Like we had like long hair, and we were. If we played All the Things You Are, it was like this crazy weird version of it, and but mostly original music. I wrote music. That was when I really, I would try to write a song every week. So I would have fresh material for the band. And so we did mostly original music. And it was a great band. Yeah. And
that's awesome, man. Yeah. It's really cool hearing about all the different groups that you've played with. I love to talk about, especially if like there's somewhere we can find a recording.
Yeah, I would like to find a recording because a lot of
what do you have that
I'd have to find it. So because you do like, especially when I was doing records and studio work.
Do you have anything on like cassette or?
I probably do.
If
I'd
you
have
do,
to find it,
I can bounce that out for you. I have a really nice high-end cassette player that would work perfectly for it. It's a nice TAC, and I can digitize it and then. Yeah, and then you could put it on YouTube or something. People could actually listen to it.
Yeah, it was funny.
If you want,
I'd be curious what it sounds like because a lot of it was like, you would, some guy would say, "Oh, I've got a development deal with Capitol Records. Hey, I've got CRC booked for like 4 days. Here's my songs. Can we rehearse once?" We'd go in and record the songs with like, some guy who was an engineer for Styx or something who was awesome, and then they'd pay you your $500, and then you'd never see each other again. Like the guy would go off and try to get signed, and it would never go anywhere. And so there were just project after that went on for years. So I mean, there's so many things I played on that were original songs. In addition to the jazz stuff and the fusion stuff that I was doing, I was in so many rock band and pop stuff or whatever it was. Whoever was popular, somebody was like trying to knock it off, and they heard me to play guitar on it. So it was nice.
Sure.
My license plate was Guitar Man. That was pretty cool.
You actually got that from?
It was GTR. GTR Man was my license plate.
Nice.
And I was working for a singer, and I said, "Oh man, I got robbed again." He's like, "Why don't you just put a sign on your car that says valuable musical equipment inside?"
Sure. Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, yeah." So
asking for it.
I haven't had the license plate in a while, but but it was just working all the time as a guitarist and doing the school. And at some point, they sort of went simultaneously. And my daughter was born, and it was funny because it was like, I saw her like a couple hours a day, like in the morning, and then I would be like, I'd go off. I'd see her from until 9 and 10 in the morning. I'd go teach at a college or a high school, go to my studio, come home at 10 at night, grab my amp, and go play a gig till 2 in the morning, sleep for 4 hours, and then and it was a blast. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
I studied with Wertico, and he talked about the musical scene when he was coming up. It was funny because I think one of the restaurants that was right next to where I lived on Ashland and Fullerton, and it was just north of it. It was I can't remember what it was called, but they're open 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
And they all live there. It's Mexican food.
Oh, like at Elston and Addison, like that area, right? Or at Clybourne?
Yeah. It's actually Clybourne,
Addison,
Clybourne, and Ashland. Yeah. So
Ashton Clybourne in Fullerton. Yeah, I got you. It's funny. I used to live in a loft over there for a while.
Nice. Yeah,
right above, right on Fullerton, above Hoghead McDonough's.
Oh, I used to go to that place.
And there was an art gallery.
I've had a couple nights there drinking. Yeah.
There was an art gallery next door, and we played there every Saturday night. So I had like a Saturday night. It was our steady Cruel Jazz gig, and so that was at that point Cruel Jazz was working like every Friday, Saturday. We were playing, but never like Green Mill. They would never hire us. I mean, we would never get hired there.
I played there once. I did a free jazz gig there.
Like free jazz, or free as in no cost, or free as in Ornette Coleman?
All of them.
Oh, nice. Cool. So you played free jazz and you weren't paid.
And I wasn't paid. Yeah, no one paid.
Double free. Yeah.
Oftentimes it ends up being like
I feel like it. Yeah.
It's a triple meeting. Yeah. It was with a trumpet player, really really cool guy, really out there stuff.
Yeah.
It's a cool place.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah, all that.
I think this was a Mingus project.
So we
did
nice.
A lot of Mingus tunes.
We used to play Nostalgia in Times Square. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, Mingus is awesome.
Kind of like a hard bop.
Yeah, hard bop. Goodbye Pork Pie Hat. I mean, Mingus. He's Charles Mingus.
That's one of my favorite tunes. Love that tune.
Yeah, beautiful song. So, yeah, it's interesting the way. It's interesting how life leads you, because you don't really think, I'm going to Berklee College of Music and I'm going to be a guitarist, and then you get out of school and all the music you like isn't popular anymore, right? And then you end up teaching, and then you think you're going to go into a school, but then you end up starting a school and owning a school,
Sure.
And then the thing that you do, like, you think people would want to like know about the guitar and stuff, but they want to know, how are you marketing your business, and so people come to you and go, hey, how do you get clients? How do you get students? That was the number one question people asked me, which is why the book ended up coming out. And because I've done consulting for people.
Interested to
I'll definitely. But it was funny because I was always helping people out with the business side of stuff of their business, and it's funny the things that people want from you that you take for granted. It's like, oh, can't everyone get clients? Isn't that like part of the deal? So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, marketing.
Yeah,
marketing yourself.
It's interesting. Yeah, being able to sell yourself. Yeah.
So like, what are some musicians that have really inspired you?
The guy who there's been a few in jazz. The person I copy everything from is McCoy Tyner, and he plays piano for John Coltrane. Every lick in the book, if you ever read like a jazz theory book and they talk about all these crazy concepts you should use, it's right out of his stuff. So McCoy Tyner, John Coltrane all the time. Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, that band. I guess it would be Miles Davis, Wayne Shorter, Herbie Hancock, that band. Yeah, and everyone talks about that band. Later, I think Herbie left and Chick came in. Like for jazz, that was it for me. Like there's no jazz guitarist. Wes Montgomery's great. They're all great. But I played a Strat, so I didn't come out of that whole thing,
Sure.
Fusion guys too, later on, Mike Stern or Schofield, any of that stuff was great. Who else? Keith Jarrett. In rock, Keith Richards, man. I love the Stones. I still love the Stones, the Who, like straight ahead, slamming rock bands with great songs.
Sure.
So any stuff like that, that was really the stuff that had like lasting influence. Like, because you have like fleeting influence. Like we played a lot of free jazz for a while, but it was almost like you did it for a while and then you moved on from it. It wasn't something that lasted with me.
And did you, I think the Smashing Pumpkins, did you like teach some of those guys at one point?
But yeah, so James actually Darcy, the bassist of the Smashing Pumpkins, called me up, and this was in 1990, so they weren't famous yet, and said, me and my boyfriend James would like to take some lessons with you, and I said sure. And Darcy actually never came to any of the lessons. Like James would come, and he was really quiet, and he was working on. It was interesting what he was working on, because he was working on, like, they were signed, they were making a record, and so he was really working on his timing. Like he had not played with a click before in the studio and things like that, and he was just trying to figure out like what to do. And then
so this is like after they had been together for a little while.
I don't know. This was 1990, so they were Gish wasn't out yet. I think they must have been working on Gish.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I was a big Pumpkins fan. Like they're really a Midwestern phenomena.
Yeah,
they definitely have their. And the funny thing, Of all their albums, I like the first one,
Gish.
maybe the best.
Yeah, Gish this was the one. Yeah, this is what they were working on, and they were working on it with Butch Vig, who later became Garbage. Or with the guy from Garbage.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's Smart Studios. I don't know if it was Smart Studios, but yeah, he was.
There was
interesting.
a girl singer on that, right?
Yeah, I'm Only Happy When Shirley Manson. Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting watching. Because it was like, I remember talking to my brother Rob. I was like, hey, so Smashing Pumpkins, they're this local band. We should go check them out. I'm giving lessons to the guitar player. He's a cool guy. And I think they're going to be huge. And my brother Rob, who's only a year older than me, but is a generation older in music than me. So he was like a Bon Jovi guy. Like a Bon Jovi, Def Leppard guy. And by then, when that music came out, I had moved on and I was getting ready to go to Berkeley. So I sort of missed that whole era. I was never a hair metal guy. I mean, they're fine. It's just, it wasn't for me. I felt like I had sort of done that with Def Leppard in 8th grade and was just looking for something different. So I don't know.
Yeah, that stuff is so
yeah,
over the top, man. Like,
yeah, it was cool. It's just,
you gotta love the 80s though.
I was there. Yeah.
I recently uncovered some, and the 70s too. Like I recently uncovered some videos, like old family videos. Man, like the fashion, like the stuff people wore.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Miami Vice, everything's like Miami Vice, man. Yeah.
These days, like, I feel like people just don't care anymore. Like, it's like
we're very casual now.
Well, yeah,
we've become very casual.
It's either casual or like a lot of the times when you work at a place, you have to wear like a polo and khakis,
Yeah.
And for me, like, and people say like, "Oh, I hate ties. Like, I hate ties. I can't stand."
You're
ties.
a tie guy. You're always in a tie.
Well, I don't know.
Look, man.
I like unified aesthetic qualities.
Yeah.
And then the ability to have like a unified aesthetic quality, but then be a little bit creative inside of that is just kind of cool.
You got the cufflinks on, the French cuffs, the cufflinks, suspenders.
My wife bought these for me.
Those are nice.
These are little drum sets.
French cuffs, yeah.
Little drum sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, she ordered these for me like probably 10 years ago. And they took like a year to get to our house. She thought they were lost, but they're really cool. And I don't know. So maybe it's silly, but yeah,
no, it's cool.
But yeah, like the 70s, you gotta love
I love the 70s,
and then the 80s, like it's all this like it's so cool. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not express yourself?
For rock music on my Spotify playlist, probably 80% of my Spotify playlist is from the 70s.
Yeah,
like the Eagles or stuff that's lasting.
Dave,
it's like,
Dave Johnson.
I was his guitar teacher when he was a kid.
Right.
Yeah, so
he always,
he was great.
He's a very talented musician.
Totally.
He always said
he was great when he was like 11 years old.
Right. Yeah, he's got great ears. He just hears everything. The music kind of hit its a pinnacle in the 70s, and it's kind of been downhill.
Yeah, it kind of, I feel like there was a point where, you have eras where it's like, let's say
we
you
got
have
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder is great.
You got like,
well, because think about 1980, the Eagles broke up, so no more Eagles records. You got some Don Henley records, that was cool. The Stones output diminished, and a lot of the Stones stuff became like leftovers. Start Me Up was a song from 1975 that they recycled. Yeah, I don't know. It was just different. Yeah, the 80s, especially as the 80s wore on.
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Earth, Wind, and Fire is great. Yeah,
they're 80s phenomenon, I think.
They're 70s.
Oh, really?
So September would have been 1978. I think that was their last
Such
big
good
hit.
Music.
Yeah, Earth, Wind, and Fire was amazing. Yeah, there was just so many. 80s, you had some, Prince, obviously, he made great records. I don't know if it was just like.
He has all these tunes where there's like a beat missing, the weird little hiccups in his tunes.
Yeah, he's like incredible. He's incredibly talented.
Kind of interesting. Hannah Ford, she now it's her last name is different. She went to college with me. She played with him for a little while.
Wow, really?
She's a cool chick. Yeah. She played drums with him. She might have been his last touring drummer.
About as good as it gets.
Passed away 3 years ago now?
Prince, I don't know. Yeah, he was a monster musician. I saw him live one time, and he was killer live.
Yeah.
But, I think what happens is, like, you have a band, let's say Van Halen gets popular, everyone copies Van Halen, doesn't do it right, and it gets watered down, and you have awful bands. Journey becomes popular. Journey's a great band. That becomes what everyone wants to do. Sort of simultaneously, you have bands copying Journey. That becomes watered down, and then Journey and Van Halen, they all become rich and buy Ferraris and kind of chill out, right? So then you have all these bad bands that are copies. A bad copy of Van Halen, a bad copy of Journey, a bad copy of the Eagles. And that's, a bad copy of the Beatles. And that becomes, as the,
Is the Beatles where it all started?
Yeah. Well, Yeah, the Beatles are great. You could.
A lot of their stuff was based on folk music, and
But
then
they took
classical
it somewhere,
music,
man.
and everyone's copying something.
Everyone's copying
There's
something.
no,
but I think
even in classical music, like you have, like there's the Baroque, and the Baroque was copying the earlier stuff, and then the Renaissance. The Baroque was copying the Renaissance. Then later on
But I think that's how it falls apart.
The classical was copying the Baroque, and then the Romantic was copying the classical, and then the...
Totally, yeah. But, we remember the originals. We remember Beethoven, or you remember Miles Davis, but, like, how about the clones you don't... Like, who else was writing music around the time of Beethoven? Like, I actually can't... That's not my area of expertise, but I don't know. Who else was, like,
There were a lot of people.
There were a lot of people, I'm sure, but like whose music do we still listen to? You know what I mean? And maybe there was some great unknown composers, I don't know. But that's the difficulty with music is creating that fresh content, creating something.
Clara Schumann. So I think that's a good one to check out.
Clara Schumann, I'll check them out.
If you want to listen to
And is that from that 1800s? Early 1800s?
Schumann? I don't know if it's totally contemporary, but it's a little later, I think.
Oh, okay,
after, but right around the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beethoven.
I mean,
who's your favorite classical composer?
For classical, a big Debussy, like the French composers, Debussy, Ravel. Yeah. Love Beethoven. Who doesn't love Beethoven, man? His music's exquisite.
Did you ever do any classical guitar? Do you
I did some. Yeah, I studied classical when I was in. Man. I took it
beautiful.
When I knew I was going to go to college for music. The guy I studied with, the jazz guitar guy, I studied classical with him, and then he sort of steered me to jazz, like inadvertently. Sure. So I did classical guitar, and I really liked Villa-Lobos, and I played a lot of the Bach cello suites, sonatas, partitudes for violin. The thing is with classical guitar, it's almost like a separate instrument, separate technique, separate writing technique.
The nails.
And so
you look like a like a cokehead. Yeah. Gonna have the long nails.
But it doesn't really transfer. You're not improvising, you're not strumming, you're not you're playing by yourself. So it's cool. I like it. And I
remember at the Chicago Academy for the Arts, the reason I say that because I never played guitar, but all of the people that they hated having to have the long nails, and they when they graduated, they all just instantly cut them off. But it was so beautiful. I also remember at the Academy for the Arts there was a median on Ogden Avenue, and we would just kind of all hang out, sit in a circle, and there'd be just one guy playing classical guitar, and it was just some of the most wonderful memories of my entire life.
Yeah. See, when I played classical,
it's a portable instrument.
It is. I went no nails. I said, hey, I'm not going the nails route because I thought, well, like the Spaniards who have been playing since they were 4, like I'm never going to be as good as them. So I have to be different. So I'll play different. I'll sound different. So my difference was I have 3 or 4 nylon strings, and my around the house guitar is a classical guitar. I do it without nails. So and it's just I have a different sound, and I'm sure classical guitarists are appalled, but that was just my angle. So it's kind of a weird version of classical guitar.
Yeah, I think you even put like nail polish on them to make them really strong.
They do some stuff.
Yeah.
It's a unique thing. Classical's different because you're alone. You're not. Like if you're a jazz guitarist or a rock musician, you need a band. You can't play by yourself. Like playing by yourself sucks. You don't want to do it. But classical guitar, you're like alone in a room, like playing as a soloist. You don't play with other people.
That's what I mean. It was just so portable.
So it's different.
Just so beautiful. This guy, Chris Mann, he went to school with us, and he was the guy who would play sometimes out there.
Nice.
Just so talented, wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah. So with the school now. It's grown into something. You want to talk a little bit about how it's grown into and where it is now, the building, and all that kind of fun stuff?
Well, and it was when I decided, okay, I'm going to make this as big as possible. Like when at some point I said, okay, I'm just going to go full on and do the school. I started hiring people, and we went from guitar. We added piano and voice and drums. So I built 4 rooms out. And I remember I had to go buy a drum set. I had to go buy a piano. I think my mom gave me a piano actually. But it was okay. Sure. And I was surprised how many people wanted to do voice lessons. I was like, really? People? It never occurred to me to take voice lessons. I was like, wow, voice is this hugely popular thing. And it just kept going. And so, then some more space in the building came available. So I took some more space. And then I was like, okay, I saw that music was becoming less popular, and I saw the internet sort of people were still into music, but it's how you learn could be different. You didn't have to sit in a room and learn from a teacher. You could learn from YouTube. Someone came in the other day, actually just on Friday, for our summer camp program, and this little girl was playing the piano, and she was knocking out all these songs. Like Mary Had a Little Lamb on the piano, and I said, "Oh, who's your teacher?" And she's like, "I learned on YouTube." And I was like, she doesn't need a piano teacher. But so when I said, okay, well, we're going to expand. We added an art department, and we started having art summer camps, which are they're still one of our biggest thing in the summer are these art summer camps. And then
I remember
they're
kids running around and
totally
the room running into the teacher. And the room with all the little projects.
Oh, the art
Very
rooms,
cool.
yeah, art is great. And then we added dance, and then theater. And so it's sort of the idea is like we're not sort of dependent on say music lessons or anything. So we had just all these different departments going now, and so it's cool because it became. And I think a lot of the other schools may have thought, well, we're like we're like a pure music school. Like they're just giving private lessons, right? Let's get real. There's no, we're not talking about Berklee College of Music. We're talking about like community music schools where you take lessons. But it was like, this other school, they do all these different things. But for me, like arts are all connected. So people who play instruments, you play guitar, you might also dance, you might also be, an artist. Miles Davis was a painter and a trumpet, right?
Yeah,
John Lennon was
reminds me of the Academy a little bit.
Yeah, so we did
get all these artists all together and
right,
who
and you
knows
can
what'll
experiment,
happen.
right? Well, you might say I'm into art and I also take piano, so it became this thing where like we have theater kids and they also sing, and so it became this idea of like, we're not like the traditional dance ballet program, we're not like the traditional music school, so we're sort of all these different things, where people can sort of be whatever they want and explore whatever they want, and so it's been very cool.
How old did the kids start usually? What age?
It's the person who I saw on Friday. They were 4 years old.
I might bring Lily maybe if
our art goes as low as 2.
She's about 3.5. Yes.
We have a program called Little Artists that goes as young as 2 or 3 years old,
Nice.
like Mommy and Me type art classes, Mommy and Me type dance classes for younger kids. So any of that really, and I think. Because sometimes you'd meet teachers and
So the mom comes as well.
Yeah, the mom comes. Yeah, Mommy
sure.
and Me. Because I'd meet teachers and they go, if you do piano before the age of 7, you're wasting your time. And I thought, well, how could it, if you're a kid and you're learning music and playing music and your earliest memory is music and you have this intense connection to music, how is that like a waste of time? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you could be developing your ears. You could be, are you going to be knocking off Rachmaninoff? No. But, what if your kid develops an incredible sense of pitch or rhythm or, develops perfect pitch, I don't know, or just anything, or just loves music, like has this crazy connection. So
anyone who says like music isn't essential,
it is.
Art isn't essential. It's like go into the a primitive culture, anywhere,
society,
and do they not have it?
Yeah,
like people who are.
It's universal.
They're
totally.
getting their food every day from hunting.
Gathering, and at night they bang on rocks or drums or hand drums or sing and
laughter,
draw pictures. Yeah,
music, art. These are all things that are absolutely essential. Yeah, whenever you like hit the hardest point in your life.
Yeah.
If you're working like a really rough job or something, like laughter, that for me at least,
totally.
Even the silliest joke is not even that funny.
Yeah,
it just becomes like a total release from reality.
Well, we need that. Music is one of those things. Like so many people. It's funny because I'll occasionally meet somebody who took lessons from me 20 years ago. Oh man, you saved my life, and I'm thinking like, I taught you guitar. How did I save your life?
Sure.
I don't say that, but I go, really, how? And they said, well, you were the only person who I talked to who wasn't like, they had a hard time with their parents or they felt alienated at school. Like you were the only person who talked to me, or you showed me that I could play music, and music became the one thing I could do.
Yeah, man.
And it was and I was like, oh wow.
It is actually a field, like music therapy.
Yeah. And it was just these were teenagers. It gave them identity. That was one of the things. Like it's like, oh, I have an identity. I'm a guitarist. You can sling a guitar over your back, wear a black T-shirt with your favorite band on it, whatever. It could be Nirvana, it could be Megadeth, it could be Miles Davis. I still wear concert shirts, but it's like it becomes your identity. It gives you something, So I don't know if I saved the person's life, but it's like you gave them something like, hey, this brings you joy and happiness to your life. And I think at the end of the day, that's what the Academy of Music and Art does. It's some kids. I have taught people who've went on to music schools and stuff, but Most people, it's just like they come and some joy comes from your life from music, art, dance, theater, or some combination.
And so you got they do like recitals.
Yeah.
I remember I was in one. I didn't teach there for too long, but it was fun. I played bass with all my aspiring students.
We do 4 musicals a year, and each one is 2 or 3 shows. So we have about 8 musicals that we do. 16 performances of that a year, like at Lion King or whatever, Frozen, music recital.
Frozen. Lily loves Frozen.
We did Frozen. We have a variety show where everybody performs. We have in the summer an art show every Friday. So every Friday after the art camps, we have art shows. We have 2 big dance recitals. We do a winter one and a spring one. So we have all sorts of performance opportunities.
Sure.
And it's a chance for people to explore whatever they want, and whether if you're 18 months in Mommy and Me, or you're 4 years old and you're just starting out, or like my oldest student is, I don't know how old he is. I'm gonna say he's 70. He's retired and he wants to play classical guitar, so I do like a classical guitar lesson over Zoom every week. Nice. And he's like, and it's totally cool to have that.
So and then you're opening up a little bit right now. We're recording this
August 1st.
Yeah, so
in the middle of COVID. Yeah,
right. And I mean, not really showing any signs of
no end in sight.
I was worried. I had recorded a couple of these, and I was worried like, well, it's going to be over with, so if we talk about it, that's not going to be an issue.
Why?
No signs of stopping. So
definitely.
You guys are gradually opening up.
First week of July, right after 4th of July, we opened up for summer camps, and
we got to do something. We can't stay.
We can't stay closed, but people are afraid. My staff are afraid to come back. I mean, whether it's I'm 70 or my girlfriend has diabetes or I'm overweight or I'm just afraid.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of the younger people. I don't know that they don't appear to have any health problems, but they're just like, I don't want to get sick and die. Like, it's not worth it. I'll teach online. Families are anywhere from they're afraid to come in to the anti-maskers. And it's like, because if you come to the school, you have to wear a mask. We have to social distance. That's just one of the things we have. So we're very strict about that for everybody's safety. And it's like, oh, can't we take our mask off? It's like, no. Sure. Get a cool mask. Got my checkered mask.
Yeah, it's very.
We're far enough apart where we don't have. But I was wearing a mask when we came.
We're in a huge room too.
Well, and when I came, we were all in masks when we were walking around. I think for the camera. But that'd be a good one for the future. It's like, why are they wearing masks? But it has been. Focusing on safety. Like we made a video on our website.
My wife's work is the same. Yeah. They're going to start getting together again. And
trying to get people comfortable. And is it safe? And then is it going to whiplash around and come back again? Are we really an online business? Are we sort of morphing into that? Are we going to be sort of more permanently an online business? Will we not change back? Because right now, like if we talk about like the music industry of learning lessons or learning anything, we do it face to face, right? Well, now it's like people have been slowly but surely learning on an app. I learned how to speak French on an app. You're learning is my French perfect? No, but it's pretty good. Learning piano, this little girl learned how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on YouTube. It sounded like Mary Had a Little Lamb. Did she have perfect technique? No, but it's like she can play the songs. So at some point, do we shift away from this traditional face-to-face education? My daughter's going back to University of Illinois in a couple weeks. All her classes are online. So she's going to learn whatever she's learning, music education online. Right. So we're going to be, I don't know that we change back. I think some businesses will remain online. I think like a lot of education will be shift to online because it's just easier, or you can be far away. If you're living in Florida right now, I guess you wouldn't want to be in Florida right now, but theoretically, if with online education, you could say, hey, it's cold in Chicago in January, I'm going to live in Florida and go to a great school, and our local schools are very good, but not be there. Come back for the summer.
Technology has definitely changed everything.
Yeah, it had. It's been something that's been happening for a long time, though. Think about like how often do you see, like if we're talking about music, like Musician, you can learn how to play online. We see the commercials. There's so many different learning tools. And now all of a sudden it's like, wow, we're all going to have to be online.
I personally, I'm old fashioned.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing like
for sure
in person.
I absolutely agree.
And when it comes to performance, too, like I was talking to I can't even remember, it was one of these podcasts, just think about the percentage of people that have actually gone and seen a good jazz performance live. in the United States right now. I'm not talking
like right now, or you mean ever? Like not many.
Well, just like people who
who go to see jazz.
I mean, maybe even young people, because older people have probably seen it more than you. But no, I'm not talking like the high school band. I'm talking like a good jazz performance.
Like go to the jazz showcase, see a band.
Yeah, it's probably almost and that's such a wonderful experience. And to me, like it's something that I really think needs to continue.
Yeah, I can't tell you how often I meet a friend at the jazz showcase, and they're like, "Wow, I've never been here. But how long has this place been here?" Well, it's like it's like 50 years or whatever. Right? Really? Wow. Yeah, I've never seen like live jazz before. Like in a restaurant, there's jazz in the background or something. But to actually go like, no, we're gonna like sit here in our chairs and have a drink, and the band's over there, and we're gonna watch the band perform.
Yeah.
Like, I've never done that before, and people don't even know.
Yeah, when I was younger, I brought a couple people to the Velvet Lounge, which was
Fred Anderson. Yeah, sure. I used to play their jam all the time on Sundays.
Yeah.
That was a tough jam.
It was intense, yeah. Very
up-tempo Moment's Notice that John Coltrane. I remember
I would go in and my hands would be like frozen from the cold, and they'd be like, "All right, you're up."
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, Fred was great. That was a great scene. Yeah, they were wonderful musicians.
Some of my friends, they were into like even like they were like punk rockers or like metal guys, and the energy there was so strong that, Isaiah Spencer, he was one of the drummers. I remember he was playing there.
Yeah, Afifi.
And they were just like,
guy,
I'm not a big jazz fan, but that was cool.
Oh yeah.
They could appreciate it.
Think about how many, along this lines, we're in Chicago. This is where we're broadcasting from. I know you probably listen all over the world. When was the last time you went to an actual real blues club?
Sure.
In Chicago, right? Like there's
not even that many anymore.
Well, but there used to be Kingston Mines, Blues Etc., Buddy Guys.
Buddy Guys is still there.
Buddy Guys is still there.
They used to be the Hot House, and the Buddy Guys moved from their old location, and they took the Hot House over.
Because the Hot House used to be on Milwaukee at North Avenue in the Flatiron Building, and they moved.
Oh, and then they went to the South Loop.
They went to the South Loop.
And that's
the Hot House moved.
I never went to the one in the Flatiron.
I remember seeing Dewey Red and Joshua Redmond there. Yeah, because Buddy Guy was like, he was somewhere. He just moved a couple blocks south, but Kingston Mines is still there. There used to be blues. There are all these blues clubs. It's like,
good Chicago blues.
I would go to the jams all the time because there was always a blues jam to play, but I never went there and hung out.
Yeah,
I never went. Like, oh, I want to go out and see blues. Like, I never did that. I wish now I regret it because it's like I'd play what's the checkerboard on the South Side? Used to play there all the time for no money.
Sure,
but it was like I never went there just to hang.
I sat in at a blues session at Buddy Guy's once, and it's funny. My feel, it's just not quite right because I play jazz so much.
Sure.
I think I just kind of pushed the tempo just a little bit too much. Yeah. It's not quite right. We had fun,
Yeah.
I don't think they hated me, but it was.
It's cool. It's a jam, man. They don't.
Yeah, for sure. You never know who's gonna sit. I think I played like 3 or 4 tunes. It was great fun, but yeah, you gotta love blues, man.
Yeah, I had a piano teacher working at the Academy for a while, and he was the house pianist at the Kingston Mines. And he lived in Wheaton, and he used to play. I forget his name. He used to play piano at Mariano's. So he'd walk into the grocery store, and you hear this burning piano, and you think it's the radio, and it's an actual guy playing it.
Nice.
He was house keyboardist at Kingston Mines, and
That's
actually
awesome.
was one of the few people I knew who actually made a living playing the piano. Like he played like 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
And he was
Did you ever see the dueling pianos at the place near Wrigley Field?
There's a couple guys who do it. I've seen the dueling piano. I don't know if it's the same guys, but they're around.
There was a bar there, and it was like on the second floor, and there would be it was very cool.
Redheaded Piano Bar used to have the dueling pianos, but there were a couple guys who traveled around who had like electric pianos, and then they had like a fake grand piano.
Yeah,
they kind of did that. And
good fun.
And that was cool. Yeah, they were always good. But yeah, making a living as a musician is as a performer, there aren't many.
Sure.
And you mentioned seeing jazz. It's just jazz it's tough for jazz. But maybe after this is over, people will appreciate going out and seeing a band. Maybe not.
I mean, yeah, when they tell you should stay home for so long, it's then you really want to start going out.
Well, and it's been
I'm kind of
May, June, yeah.
I didn't even go out much before because I'm usually home taking care of my
because you got young ones. See, mine's
and,
21, yeah. But then we're 4.5 months in. It could be another 6 months. I mean,
Maybe
we might
6 years.
we could only be halfway there, So hopefully not, but if it is, then we just deal with it. You make it work. You find a way to make it work. That's all you can do.
Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, well, he
Life
just
finds a way.
Yeah, well, you got to figure it out, right? You can't just. We're at that point where it is just like, okay, we're gonna have to reinvent ourselves. You have to,
Sure.
if you declare yourself, hey, I'm a professional musician, and that means I'm gonna go out and find work, or whatever it is. You have to make it work. We have no other option, right?
Sure.
We can only rely on the government checks for so long if we can get another round of.
I think outdoor stuff. We got to do more outdoor stuff. Have you considered doing outdoor lessons?
So yes, we did.
Because you've got property there.
We got some property.
In the back, you've got all that grass. Why not? Or is this like a
So
little pond or something?
we have like the kind of the retention pond, but there is a big parking lot in back. So we looked at tenting the parking lot.
Yeah, man, because outside it's totally safe. I mean,
totally.
The sunlight is good. It gets you vitamin D.
It's very
kills the
hot,
virus.
though. We looked at it because that first week.
It's hot, but that's good for drink lots of water.
But it's like 100 degrees in the parking lot with no shade. So that's where we're like, can we do a tent? But it was like, it was just like today, if. When it's like 90 every day, it's tough to say we're going to sit outside for 6.5 hours.
Sure.
We have the bathroom issue as well. Like, where do you go for the bath? Little kids, they're messy. There's no running water out there.
Oh, I know
There's
all
no
about
bathroom.
that. Yeah.
So, but yeah, we looked into that. It's like, hey,
got two at home.
Can we do the parking lot? Can we do the parking lot things? Because then, you could social distance and be outside. So yeah.
Yeah, outside stuff is good. Everyone should. Yeah,
everyone should be outside
as much as you can.
I know. So yeah,
that's a good thing.
It's cool. So yeah, it's definitely something we're like, okay, can we be like tent the parking lot, or even in the fall, like when it's not so hot.
Sure.
So like the fall, that might be the time to make the move and say, okay, September, like till we're frozen, we're gonna work outside.
Just imagine your neighbors; they would all be like, "What's going on?"
Well, our
neighbor
neighbor
had a drum set.
We got a car dealer, and the restaurant next door to us closed.
Oh, I used to go there.
They got
I love that place.
The for sale signs up.
Oh man, that's too good. That was a nice place.
That was cool. Yeah, it used to be a Red Lobster, and then it was something else. I forget what it was recently, but
some kind of hip. Modern,
it was cool. What they built a really nice restaurant. It's beautiful. Yeah. Well, it's for sale if you're looking to buy a restaurant that nobody can go to, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
What can you do, right?
Yeah, I used to be in the food business. I'm very lucky that I'm not in the food business anymore, and that I'm doing this because.
Because this is probably all online mail order type stuff, right?
The Chicago store in particular, it's very very much online focused. Yeah, we're always putting stuff up, and
that's where we're at. Yeah,
selling stuff all over the world.
That's cool. You have a good niche. Yeah, it's well, it's interesting because this business is really set up to succeed in any environment, right? Like, because you're online, your mail order, your
pretty
catalogs.
Much. Right.
Probably not catalogs, but really online catalog. Yeah.
If the Yellowstone goes off, I think that could probably take us out.
Yeah.
Or maybe a meteor hit or nuclear war, but other than that,
I think you guys are good. You have a good niche, right? Right. Stay home and play your drum kit, right? That's what people do. Yeah. Yeah, because your market is probably mostly people who are collectors, right? So they just want to have a drum set in their house. So they're not even looking. It doesn't matter if they gig; they're not gigging, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people might, but
Yeah. We try to support. We do the jam. We would try to support. You've come to the jam.
I have jammed many times.
We're probably not going to do that anymore. I'm thinking I might do it like once every 6 months in the future. Once they come up with a vaccine or something, then I'll do it maybe once every 6 months.
Yeah,
that's what I'm.
Well, because it's time consuming, right? I guess you can have.
It is. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And then, like sometimes people come, sometimes they don't come, and I'm thinking if I do it once every 6 months, then I can actually really promote it. And
isn't it always every time I come, it's crowded?
Well, yeah. I think you just came to some of the good ones.
Yeah, I've come here maybe 5 times in your old space a few times.
Yeah.
And it was always a good crowd.
Yeah, it varies. It varies. Yeah. Sometimes I've had a couple where there's the musicians are outnumbered by are not outnumbered by the audience. But then there were a couple, there were like 30 people.
Oh yeah, you definitely had some good sound. Yeah, always good. Yeah.
I really want to do some more like seminars too, like tuning seminars and stuff like that. But we'll see, yeah.
Yeah, I would think you could do webinars. That's one of the things.
Well, everything we do, I always put up on the web.
Yeah, but like a webinar, like you talk to people, you invite people, and it's a webinar.
Right. That would mean you'd actually have people.
Yeah, you'd send out invites and people would come in and they would want to see how to do, you say, hey, today we're talking about tuning drums or whatever it is, or some kind of demonstration with a live, you have.
Sure.
whoever. I don't know who you could probably get someone very famous, right? And just say, hey, here's how we tune up a kit or whatever it would be. And it would be a webinar you could invite people to and then have a rebroadcast.
Masterclass.
Yeah.
That would be great. I'd love to get like Joel Spencer in here.
Yeah.
Maybe Steve Smith. Maybe like.
Because you could probably get Steve Smith, right? Because Journey's not working, right? Yeah.
I mean, he's a busy guy though. I think he's definitely, but we'd have to.
Because he was back in Journey for a while, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's up to. I think he's with Sonar.
Yeah, great drummer.
That's the last.
He's a Berkeley
I saw
guy.
with him. Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Steve was a Berkeley guy, and so yeah.
I love his versatility, man.
Oh yeah.
He can really swing. He can really play like the straight eighths, like
yeah.
And Jojo Mayer too. I love him.
I don't know him.
He's
Mayer?
great.
Who's he play with?
I'm not sure what bands, but he's a fantastic drummer. Very interested in bass drum pedals, bass drum technique.
Nice.
One of the cool things about him, I'll talk about some drum stuff. He had Converse All-Stars.
Yeah.
And he put leather soles on them, on his Converse.
Oh, so they would be more like drummer shoes, yeah.
Yeah, because the old school guys, like,
wore dance shoes,
Gene
right?
Krupa,
Yeah.
Buddy Rich, Papa Joe, Philly Joe, all the old drummers, they'd wear dress shoes and they would have the leather soles, and you can kind of dance on the pedals.
Yeah.
And he was watching that, and I was inspired by that. I always wear, whenever I do sound files or anything, I always wear my my dress shoes now because, that was kind of an interesting thing.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. I'd love to.
Nice. Neil Peart of Rush always talked about wearing dance shoes when he played drums.
Yeah.
He's like, you dance on because he wanted to be able to dance on the drum kit. So he wore dance shoes.
They might leather soles, maybe.
What you would wear when you dance, whatever you wear when you dance. I don't know. Yeah, ballroom dance shoes, maybe, I don't know.
Tap dancing.
Probably not tap dancing, but yeah, it's a Neil Peart, the drummers out there. Yeah, he wore the dance shoes, and he was a great drummer. I saw him play many times because Rush is awesome.
Right.
And yeah, Neil Peart was a monster on the kit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the old drummers were tap dancers as well.
Oh, really? I can see that.
Like Papa Joe Jones.
Nice.
And yeah, you can see they do a lot of the kind of like performance facial expressions and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, as a drummer, you really get to do stuff with your face that other musicians can't do. Like, you can smile while you're playing.
Yeah.
Saxophone player can't do that.
Not really, no.
Can't smile.
Guitar
player, you can't smile.
Guitar players can do that because you're having a good time. You're up front having a good time.
Right. And you guys can even walk around.
We can move around. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
We're stuck sitting down.
You're behind the kit. Yeah.
But yeah, Chris, so yeah, anything else you want to talk about?
Whatever you want, man. Yeah, my time is your time. Yeah.
I mean,
talked about the school, talked about the book, talked about all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've
playing,
covered most of the bases,
stuff,
your history, what got you into it,
yeah.
your influences, and I mean, I think that's probably
cool.
Probably good.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I'm a big podcast fan. I listen to Tim Ferriss. I listen to podcasts all the time.
Yeah, me too, man.
So I love them.
Kind of just like talk radio. It's always just kind of going on in the background. I'll be working and have something going on.
Yeah. Well, if anyone wants to ever get in touch, you can reach me at Academy of Music and Art, academymusicandart.com. For the Marketing During Tough Times, it's Chris Wilson Coaching. You can find that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Or guitar players, anything. If you're a former student or friend. Don the drummer.
For sure.
Anyone who used to play in bands with, come by.
Yeah.
I actually have had the same phone number since 1993. So the 654. Nice. I've had the same office phone number for,
I have never changed my phone number. I don't think I've never lost my phone either.
Yeah,
so
I've had the same office phone. This is a
I've got
landline.
People in there, I don't even know who they are anymore.
Yeah. This is a landline. This is my office number.
Oh, nice.
Because the guitar school, when I rented my first space in 1993, I have the same phone number. So same address. You can find me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Chris Wilson. It's been great.
Awesome to be here. Thank you, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
And everyone out there, thanks for listening. And that's all.
All right.